it's Jackye Mumphrey, the real estate maven, and I want to share with you a very unique report that I put together revolving around what neighborhoods, streets, and even homes that have the largest increase of value in Mableton historically. I went back into the FMLS archives going back 20 years, and I was able to suss out all of the homes that had the highest appreciation, also the streets that had the highest appreciation, and I compiled all this data that I'm going to share with you today. So let's get into the numbers. So right now I took a cross section of homes that were a minimum of 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, that were over 1,300 square feet, that sold in the last 20 years in Mableton more than one time. And it came out to be 4,970 records, of which 790 of them had unique addresses that sold more than once in my data set. The addresses that have sold the most for listed transactions in the past 20 years is a property located at Farmwood Way in Mableton. That property sold 5 times. Vinings Retreat Way sold 5 times. Vinings Place Trail sold 4 times. Sylvania Drive sold 4 times. And Highland Preserve Drive sold 4 times. Vine Trail sold 4 times. Cobblestone Creek Circle sold 4 times. Willem Creek Road 4 times. And lastly, Buckner Creek Drive sold for 4 times. Now, with that, I'm going to break down the increases in value by the top homes by total appreciation. So I have 4788 Langford Court. It first sold listed at 209. The most recent sale was for 495, a dollar gain of 286,000, and a total appreciation of 136.8%. Next is 5882 Buckner Creek Drive. First sold listed at 200,000. Most recent sale was at 485. Dollar gain was 285,000 at 142.5%. Number 3 is 6002 Farmwood Way. First sold at 200,850. Most recent sale was at 485 with a dollar gain of $284,150 at a 141.5% total appreciation. 5908 Cobblestone Creek Circle, originally sold for $211,415. Its most recent sale was at $494,000, gain of $282,550 with an appreciation gain of 133.7%. And then lastly, 5530 Cobblestone Creek Court, purchased at $209,990. Final sales price, or most recent sales price, $483,780, with a gain of $273,790 at 130.4% total appreciation. Now, the streets with the strongest appreciation, when you group the repeated sales by street and then you add their appreciation, these are the ones that stood out. So the streets that have topped out in the biggest gains in Mableton in the last 20 years, out of the 4,700 or so homes that I pulled that were a minimum of 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and at least 1,300 square feet, the sales volume with repeated sales was Vinings Vintage Circle at 17 repeated sales. And these are homes that repeated, not individually sold in 20 years, but repeatedly sold in 20 years. There were 17 on Vinings Vintage Circle. Total appreciation that those homeowners received was $2,115,707. The next is going to be Vinings Lake View at 23 repeated sales. Total appreciation of $1.926 million. We have Buckner Creek Drive, 12 repeated sales, meaning homes sold more than once collectively on that street in the past 20 years at $1.28 million. And then lastly, Mount Gerizim Road with 8 repeated sales at $1.188 million. Now, what jumps out is that they're not just random streets, but they represent some of the strongest performing streets inside these neighborhoods in Mableton in the last 15 to 20 years. Buckner Creek had produced the single biggest individual gain, performing on one street. And then secondly would be Cobblestone Creek. That's in the Cobblestone Creek subdivision on Veterans Memorial. And both as a street and as top individual homes, that that particular street has done exceptionally well. Now, a few other things I want to point out here. I got my little spreadsheet here. Now, these properties have the biggest appreciation overall. So 4788 Langford Court, it first sold September 20th of 2012. The last sale date was October 31st, 2025. The holding period for that seller was 13.1 years with a gain of $286,000 or 136.8% gain. The property at 5882 Buckner Creek Drive first sold July 13th, 2012. And it last sold November 4th, 2021. And it was a holding pattern of 9.3 years. They did a gain of $285,000 or 142.5%. 6002 Farmwood Way, they purchased it in 2008, May 19th, sold it February 21st, 2025. They held that property for 16.8 years. It was a holding period at $284,150 on the return with a gain of 141.5%. 5908 Cobblestone Creek Circle sold February 23rd of 2021. Resold April 20th of 2026 at 14.2 years holding period at $282,585 in gain and 133.7%. Now, the last one on my list, what rounds out the top five, is 530 Cobblestone Creek Court, sold September 6th at sold September 6th, 2011. And then sold again February 18th, 2022. They did a 10.5% or 10.5 year hold on that property with a gain of $273,790 at a total percentage gain of 130.4. So here's a few observations. Let's see. So the two highest gains that had the longest appreciation was the one that was on Farmwood Way. They held that property for 17 years and they gained over $284,000 when they sold it. And I would say also the other one's 5882 Buckner Creek Drive. They held that one for 9.3 years and basically had the same appreciation. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And they both sold after the downturn of 2008, selling within 2011 and 2012. So the people that bought those houses after the crash bought really well, and then selling in later years, paid in spades to them. So those who bought after the crash did better than, of course, people who bought before the crash. Next, getting into the subdivisions that had the strongest return on value based on the data set that I put in. Your leaders of annual year-over-year appreciation, where there have been at least 3 repeat home sales of like the same home. The top homes to essentially flip or to buy repeatedly in is going to be Shannon Chase, Shannon Green, both along the Nickajack corridor, Mableton Valley Estates, Summer Place, and Shannon Glen. Again, those are along the Nickajack Road corridor. And they have had basically subdivision-wide a pretty good appreciation based on the repeated sales of the same houses over a 20-year period. And that's subdivision-wise. Shannon Glen, for instance, had 15 repeated sales. Shannon Green had 10 repeated sales. All right, so the top 10 performing neighborhoods for homes that have repeated sales as a whole. So number 1 for South Cobb is going to be Vinus Estates. Technically not in Mableton, City of Smyrna, but they all have Mableton mailing addresses, so they've been included in this particular data set. Vinings Estates, and basically why it stands out is you get consistently high resales in there, strong long-term appreciation. So that's always going to be like a perennial favorite for most people here in South Cobb. It's the largest community in South Cobb. Next, as I already mentioned, it's going to be Cobblestone Creek. They tend to have some of the highest appreciation gains in that neighborhood. And you wouldn't ordinarily know that, but they do. Shannon Green would be next. I have Vinings Vintage, Vinings Lake. Legacy at the Riverline has strong appreciation during the past decade. Buckner Creek area, they have a lot of top performing homes in that neighborhood. Maple Valley Estates, Shannon Glen, and then it rounds out at Highland Preserve, which is going to be pretty much homes that are in the East Gate at Vinings that back off of Pebblebrook Road.